Hi, I'm Obba Babatunde, and you're listening to Courtside with Mark. I was almost bar mitzvahed at the age of 12.
Hey everybody, Mark Israel, and welcome back to Courtside from LA. We came out to LA for All-Star Weekend, and Byron Scott was nice enough to invite us to co-host and sponsor a charity event he was doing. We set up our podcast studio there, and Byron introduced us to a lot of cool guys. One of the coolest was Obba Babatunde. Raised in Queens, New York, he found himself out in LA where he became an acclaimed actor and a bit of a horse whisperer. But like whenever two guys get together, we started by talking about family. Check it out.
Wole. Everybody call you Akin for short. And your name, Akin Wole, you write it down, Akinwole.
Write it down.
Right? So you have it, Akin Wole. And it means, that's a beautiful ring you have on. Akin Wole. Yes. Congratulations. Well done. Well done. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's so funny. So it means valor enters this house. And the reason I noticed that is, and if not being too personal, what's your maturational age? That's every age. You are how old?
I'm 22 now.
22 now. Look at you, and you're betrothed to a beautiful lady. My son is 30, and he just got engaged.
Hey.
And so that's why I was looking at the ring. You know what I mean? I'm paying more attention because it's been a long time since I was paying attention to rings.
So I'll tell you, in my culture, we say Mazel Tov, man.
Mazel Tov.
Mazel
Mazel
Tov.
Tov.
Congratulations.
Mazel Tov.
So I also have a 30-year-old son.
Really?
Who's my daughter-in-law is pregnant. So we got our first
Well,
we got our first grandchild coming in a couple weeks.
I love it. I
It's
love
very-
it. I
it's
love
pretty cool,
it.
right?
I
The
love
cycle of life, man.
Mazel Tov, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's so funny because I've studied many cultures over the years, right? So obviously, you're saying my culture in the Jewish faith that everybody identifies what Mazel Tov means. You know what I mean? And so I've worked. As a matter of fact, I was almost bar mitzvahed at the age of 12.
Okay.
Because my mother, her birth name, she's a Cohen, Cohen.
Wow.
So I know a little bit about your culture as well.
I think you know a lot about our culture.
Yes.
That's unbelievable. But you're born and raised here, or where are you
yes,
from? Yes,
born and raised in back east in New York.
Okay, where in New
You
York?
know what I mean.
Where are you from?
Well, originally as a baby, upstate Albany, New York, and then was raised in Queens.
Okay, very nice. Where about?
In Queens?
Yeah.
South Jamaica, Queens.
I know exactly where it is, man. Yeah.
Really?
I grew up in Long Island,
Where on Long Island?
In Great Neck.
Great Neck, Long Island.
Okay,
on the shore.
Yeah, you know how many times I changed trains in Jamaica?
I'm
always
sure.
changing trains in Jamaica.
Listen,
man.
let me tell you something. You know what's interesting is a lot of people, you guys are too young to remember this, but eager to be able to tell you, that when you live in, because he asked a very specific question, where? Because where is a very, very, very telling thing. Yeah. You say New York, and people say, well, New York State, New York, Long Island. Okay, now, Long Island? Where on Long Island?
Right.
See, so he and I went back and forth, because all of those things are uniquely specific to where you grew up and what the culture is there.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and,
I mean the culture too, it gets right down to a neighborhood, right? I mean
it does.
But I'm guessing there weren't many guys like you walking around in South Jamaica with cowboy hats and a belt buckle that I could probably eat dinner off of. So
listen, and you know what? I don't know. You just interviewed Glenn Turman.
Yes, we
right?
did. Great guy.
So Glenn and I are the grand marshals for the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo.
Tell me about what that is.
And the Bill Pickett Rodeo is an all-black rodeo.
Okay.
And see, the difference is, when you get your name on a buckle, so you'll remember this when you go back, that's the difference. This is a trophy. This is not just a big buckle to show off. When you get your name on it, you had to earn it, right, through a competition. So this is the number of years of me. This is for... I've done all different events in the rodeo, you know what I mean? But I've been a grand marshal there with the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo. And Bill Pickett, which is this guy here.
Yep, tell me a little about him.
Okay, Bill Pickett. Now, when you go to rodeo, you see when the cowboy comes off his horse and grabs the steer and flips it. right? That is called now bulldogging. Okay. It was originally called steer wrestling.
Okay.
And Bill Pickett was one who made it famous because he would come off the bull, off his horse, onto the steer and bite it and flip it with his mouth.
What? Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
Have you ever done that?
No, man, I'm not putting nothing in my mouth that I can't chew and swallow. You know.
But how does a kid in South Jamaica, Queens?
Okay,
where do you even buy a cowboy hat, let alone get on a horse?
Listen, remember this. I told you as a baby, upstate Albany, New York.
Yep.
So my dad was a cowboy. Wow. Okay, and he would his friends. You know, horses were different then because they were used as tools. Now they're for pleasure, they're for competitions, they're athletes. You know what I mean? So we train horses. I've been a horse whisperer for this year makes 29 years.
Wow.
And what a horse whisperer is that's different than someone identifying himself as a trainer. I teach the language of the horse. I communicate with the animal the way the animal can communicate. A lot of people don't understand the difference between predator and prey. Okay, we don't train horses the same way we train dogs because dogs are predator, horses are prey. With a dog like us, we're predator. You say sit, dog sits down, you give it a treat. Okay, the treat is the reward. That's the same thing with any predatory animal. It's capture, and the reward is feed. In a prey animal, their nature is fright and flight. So you go out to a dude ranch or somewhere where they rent horses, and you give the horse a carrot, and the horse follows. You say, "Oh, now it likes me." No, you're wrong. It likes the carrot. It does not associate any affinity as to where the treat comes from, because they don't deal with love or hate as prey animals. They deal with trust and or mistrust.
Wow.
And the only way, and I think you'll appreciate this, because I've applied this to my life, having worked with these creatures. The only way you earn, and I underscore the word earn, the only way you earn that horse's trust is one way: investment of time and consistency of behavior.
Wow.
We could learn that as human beings. Somebody walks away and says, "Man, this guy is great. I love that guy." And he walks away and goes, "I can't stand that guy." You know what I mean? Because that's ultimately that's with the ego. You know, we like to hear that. You know what I mean? But investment of time and consistency of behavior earns trust. Trust is what affords you to be able to rely. And that's why that animal deals in that way. Okay, so same difference with alpha. In the horse world, there is a pecking order. Not like human, I'm the baddest dude, no. They have a pecking order. They find out who's the toughest, because that's who they're going to follow in the case of a problem. You see, so these things that I've learned over the years, and I've studied them, and so that my working with horses, people bring me a horse and they say, "Well, my horse has got this problem." I said, "You show me a horse with a problem and I'll show you a human that's probably helped create it."
Wow.
Because you don't understand the way the creature thinks. The brain of a horse is no bigger, literally, than that. Doesn't mean it's a stupid animal. It means this: there's only so much it can comprehend at one time. So if you've got an 8 ounce, I liken it to if you've got an 8 ounce container, you put 8 ounces in it. You can try to put 9 in it if you want. It's just going to run over.
Right.
Okay. So we only give the animal one thing at a time to think about, because that's all it can really think about. Okay. So understanding the language, we could have had this entire conversation, and if I was speaking to you in a language that you don't understand, you say, "Obba, I get the passion, but I don't know the details."
Right.
Okay. So that's what's key about communication. Language. Last thing I'll say on that, and then I'll let you do your thing, is that I used to go back and forth to Japan 3 times a year, because I would go over there and teach wannabe jazz singers jazz lyric interpretation, because I'm also a singer, an actor, as well as a dancer, as well as a director and producer. It's a half a century career, so it's a lot to go into. All you got to do is type in my name on your phone right there, OBBA, and if you got enough time to read, you can sit down and watch all that's gone on in this half a century career. But the thing about what I learned in Japan is they have something that's called the process. And what the process is, which is fascinating, it is that it's the best idea in the room that wins, not necessarily the person with the best idea. So if we're in a meeting, to give example, we're in a meeting and you're the person that's in charge of the meeting. You get, out of the respect for your position, you get an opportunity to speak first. Right. And I say, あ、そうですね。あ、本当に。あ、わかりました。Now remember that because わかりました is very important. あ、そうです。わかりました。本当。わかりました。そうですね。Okay, so what I just said is 本当 is really. あ、そうですね. Oh, I see what you're saying. あ、わかりました. I understand. Okay, now it's my turn to speak. I can say what is juxtaposed to what you just said if we're trying to resolve a situation. And you will say relatively the same thing. あ、Obbaさん、本当にわかりました。そうですね. Okay? The difference is this. わかりました means I understand. I understand means I comprehend. It does not mean I agree.
Interesting.
That's the difference in what happens on this side of the water. Because you say something, I say, I understand what you're saying. That suggests that I agree with you. But maybe what if I don't agree with you? If there's 4 of us in the room and your son has a better idea than you and I, he's able to express that. And what happens is I get to hear and you get to hear you first. I get to listen. We get to listen to you uninterrupted. Then we traverse it. You get to listen to what I'm saying uninterrupted. Now we then go away to decide. I understand what you want. So when we come back together, first of all, we shouldn't be in business or in conversation if we don't trust one another that we have something to bring to the table. Right. So let's put that together so that we can come up with the best of the best.
Certainly seems like a different communication style than we do here and where we live, right?
Absolutely,
it's very different. And I want to ask you about so you say that the horse has to learn to trust you. So as a horse whisperer or
yes.
as somebody who has honed these skills, how do you get a horse to trust you? Or let's take a horse that's for whatever reason the human that caused problems beforehand makes the horse not want to trust people.
Exactly.
How do you get a horse to trust you?
Horses are creatures of habit, like people. So they don't do something like or dislike because they have the brain power to discern. It takes anything with a brain, 30 days to formulate a habit. Generally, when we talk about habits, it's usually something that's bad. Right. But a habit is that which you do without previous thought. Right. So, case point and example, and then I'll go to the horse thing. When you get into your automobile, right, your hand, you don't sit there and go, where am I going to place my hands? They automatically go on the steering wheel because habitually that's where you drive the car and you steer it. Right. If you started tonight, say if you were driving at 10 and 1, okay, or 10 and 2, okay, and then you started driving like race car drivers, 3 and 9. Right. And there's a reason for that. I'll tell you what that is. But as you started putting it 3 and 9, your hands will start creeping back up. But if you consistently bring those down, by the 27th day, it will start to feel very uncomfortable to put your hands back where you used to drive.
Amazing.
And 30 days, it will be right there immediately. When you get in it, it'll automatically go there because you've formulated a habit. Horses. So I can replace a bad habit with a good habit. The horse gets rewarded for that which is good, as opposed to punished for that which is bad. Horse only has 6 seconds in which you can reward or reprimand that it will associate it with a habit. So it's like people with their dogs. You know what I mean? Same thing with dogs, but they have a little longer because they can have a wherewithal up to like a 4-year-old. But with a horse, it does something, and then you go, where did I get you back to the barn? When you get back to the barn and you're chastising, it doesn't know what you're chastising it about.
Right.
It's forgotten. 6 seconds. 6 seconds. Reward. So how, to answer your question specifically, I give reward, and that understanding how to reward the horse, right? I don't hand feed horses. Show me a horse that bites, I'll show you a horse that's being hand fed. Why? Because they're not carnivorous creatures. They don't eat meat.
Right.
They eat hay. But if the treat is coming from the hand, they start by nuzzling, different like a dog. Dog nuzzles for affection.
Okay.
Horse is trying to get something to happen. If it's nuzzling and nothing happens, now it starts to mouth. Next, it's going to bite because it's trying to get the treat to pop out. So stop hand feeding your horse. You won't have to worry about your horse biting.
That's unbelievable. So how do you feed them? I mean, how do you
In a
reward
bucket.
them? In a bucket. That's,
In the bucket.
and that's just,
And it appreciates the food, whether it's in the bucket, on the ground, from you, from your son, from
Right.
his bride. It doesn't matter. There's no affinity of where it comes from because it's not the same thing. It's not a reward. The pet on the neck. Ah, good boy. The horse exhales.
do horses respond to physical touch?
Yes, they do.
To sort of, to a pet. I mean, and
Absolutely.
a lot like humans do with the same. They
even
appreciate
more.
and enjoy it.
Even more. When you introduce yourself to a horse, right? People, the first thing they want to do is go and touch the horse in the face. That's like me walking up. When we met, you extend your hand.
Right.
Okay? I didn't come up and put my hand in your face, go, hey, it's nice to meet you. And you put because I'm going to be like, hey, easy, my friend. You know what I mean? So same thing with the horse. You extend your hand because they smell and hear better than they see. Why? Because their eyes are on the side of their head. So they see this way. Think about that. So if their eyes are over here, just like you and I, we can look at the tip of our finger, but when it gets between our eyebrows, you can't see it.
Right.
So that whole space in between, they're blind. Right. So that horse to look at you has to do that. Not like this. It's seeing like this. That's the way they function. So when you learn these things about how they function, you then learn the best way to communicate with them. And most people don't do that.
That's unbelievable. So tell me then. So how did you earn the buckle?
Well, this buckle is this one that I'm wearing tonight. I've got several buckles over the years, but this one I wore because I was coming here. I was one of the original founders of the KISS Foundation. You know what I mean? For that board with Kiki Shepard. But this one I knew I was coming. So this one is for 35 years with the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo, and I got my NFR shirt on, and this is how I dress. This is how I dress on the difference. So it was a casual thing, so I decided to wear this one.
Sharpest looking dude in the place, man.
Well, that's very kind of you.
Oh, but thanks so much for coming, man. You really opened my eyes and educated me about some stuff that I'd never heard about, and I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for coming.
Well, thank you so much. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I really enjoyed our conversation. A
kid from Queens, unbelievable.
That's right, a kid from Queens.
They don't have cowboy hats like that back in Queens, do they? I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man.
All right, there you go, and that's a wrap on this week's episode. Thanks so much for watching. And since you made it this far, do me a solid. Hit the subscribe button down below, leave a review, send the episode to a buddy who you think would enjoy it. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.